war or Northern Federation, Asian, Russian, all. We have seen who are the involved in it and action. Now, when a war take place, so as I said, there are five different views about this. Before the rapture of the church, and if you say before the rapture of church, there are some problems. There are some. The problem of imminence is in question, and peace and security of Israel is in. Israel will be still in unbelief. So this doesn't fit there. Doesn't fit there. And all Israel will turn to their master. The result of this war, all Israel will turn to the Lord. If they all turn to the Lord, then they will not accept Antichrist, right? The Messiah, they accept the Messiah. They will not accept Antichrist as their Messiah. So this cannot fit there. And these are the problems we have. And the second one, after the rapture of the church, after the rapture, again we have some problems. At the rapture, unexpected chaos all over the world, emerging of the Antichrist, and Israel accept the peace treaty of Antichrist. So this is also have some problem. Then third is the beginning of the 7 years of tribulation. And this is a positive side. I mean, others, five different views, they might say that is a positive. But in my study, I am convinced that this is the more appropriate time. Why more appropriate time? Because Israel live in peace and security because they signed the treaty for 1 week with Antichrist and Arabs. So there is no threat from Arab nation. So they live in peace and security. That's a temporary. Though it's a temporary, but it's still a peace, right? And builds the temple and sacrifice will commence. They're in rest. They're nice. They wanted to do all things. And there is enough time to bury 7 months burying the dead, 7 years burning the weapons can be accommodated. Accommodated. There is a problem. There is a problem. What is the problem? In result of the invasion, all Israel will turn to their Messiah. Will happen at the return of Jesus Christ, end of the tribulation. See, this interpretation of the prophecy is another wonderful subject. There are a lot of rules, there are a lot of systems, there are a lot of ways how to interpret the prophecy. If we can learn that, I'm sure that we will not make. We don't have time. I wish I could share that in one of the sessions. It's really most important. First, before I go into all these prophecies, I learned how to interpret the prophecy. So there are so many rules of interpretation. So one of the rule here is double interpretation, double fulfillment. The theologians are investigated all these things, and they come with this rule of double fulfillment. For example, Zechariah 2:28, I'm going to pour out my spirit upon your young men. They are going to prophesy, the old people, they dream, all those things, right? And that is in the end times. But the part of it fulfilled at the Pentecost. The Pentecost. Acts second chapter, I think. Acts second chapter, some 14th verse. Shall we read that verse? Acts second chapter, verse 14. Peter mentioning that. Peter mentioning that. Yeah, 17th verse. And it shall be in the last days, God says, that I will pour forth my spirit upon all mankind. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall see dreams. Even upon my bond slaves, both men and women, I will in those days pour forth my spirit. And he will is go on with all these things, and he says that has happened today. It's a part of that prophecy fulfilled. But the later part, that is at the end of the age, it's very clearly said in the last days, it's going to be fulfilled. So double fulfilled. So this prophecy also have this double fulfillment method. Some people are going to accept Messiah, and many they don't accept. As a result of this war, actually everyone should turn to God. You know, when Jesus was in ministry, his own brothers would believe him, right? They wouldn't believe him. And later they believed. Later they believed. So also, in this problem can be solved only with that double fulfillment method. And even when you see the restoration of the land, 37th we have seen, it's a progressive and in two stages. First, the bones, sinews, and flesh, the skin. Then later the spirit, the breath has come the later. There's two stages. This also, we can put the same principle here. So if it is in the beginning of the tribulation, we can see as a result of this war, 144,000 Jews are going to be saved. Right? 7th chapter Revelation, 144,000 Jews are going to be saved. Maybe the influence of this war, God's miraculous way of intervening. It's a very strange intervention, right? So they are fighting with a mighty Goliath, a small, tiny nation. But Russia is a superpower. Iran is now having the nuclear power and whatnot. And can think about Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Sudan. All these are, when compared to the Israel is a small, little, tiny nation. But God is going to fight for them. And seeing this, many will accept the Messiah. 144,000 Jew, and if you come little down, there will be innumerable, unable to count. So many people will be in heaven. So that's not the rapture. That's not the rapture. 7th chapter Revelation, when that multitude, the nations, the tribes, innumerable. And the elder man asked John in heaven, do you know who are they? Where are they come from? He said, I don't know. Then he said, they are come from the great tribulation. in the great tribulation. The word is very much clearly there. Shall we read that? 7th chapter. Revelation chapter 7. Yeah, ninth verse onwards. After these things I looked, and behold, a great multitude which no one could count, from every nation and all tribes and people and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, and palm branches were in their hand. And now, 13th verse. And one of the elders answered, saying to me, these who are clothed in white robes, who are they? And from where have they come? And I said to him, my Lord, you know. And he said to me, these are the ones who come out of the great tribulation, and they have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. You know, it was the 7th chapter. Not even they reached to the middle of the tribulation, but he says the great tribulation. You know, some people say the first half is just the tribulation. Nope, no doubt. The second half, it is going, intensity is going to be more. In fact, the seal judgment, trumpet judgments are more severe, and the first trumpet, second trumpet, it's increasing. The intensity, the severity is going to be increased. But I call that is the wrath of God. Whole 7 years, it's the wrath of God. Whatever the people call it, it's a man's wrath and, Antichrist, whatever it is, it's a God's wrath. God's time of indignation. And introduction itself, if you see in the 6th chapter itself, it says very clearly. And, 5th chapter, the who is going to open the seal, that book, and the Lamb of God is able to do that. He is worthy to open that. And when it is opened, the wrath of God is poured out. Wrath of God is poured out. So, my friends, what I'm trying to say, the day one of 7 years of tribulation is the wrath of God. Wrath of God. So, the result of this war, the multitude are going to be saved. Somebody asked the question, how people are going to be saved during the tribulation period. Is there any evangelism work will go on? Yes, my friend, the two witnesses are going to witness. And maybe the result of this war, when God's direct intervention, see, 144,000 Jews are saved. And they become the evangelists. And the multitudes, they are saved. So, there's that. And there is another advantage if you put the war here. You know, Russia is the superpower, right? And Antichrist, if he is a leader there, Russia can oppose, right? Iran can oppose. They're also very powerful. But when Russia and all these Middle East countries they're subdued by God himself, they're no more. And Antichrist will have more power during that 7 years. So there are some advantages are there, and he will be strengthened, and it will be, as I said, it will be fulfilled in 2 stages. 38th chapter at the beginning of the tribulation, and the 38th chapter, that is, God is going to put the Spirit into them, and they are going to accept the Messiah. All Israel are going to be saved. That's going to be in the second part of the, this prophecy. So I comfortably, I place this right the beginning of the tribulation, Middle of the week, Israel will be fleeing to the desert. So that's a little bit difficult. And some say that end of the 7-year tribulation period. Now, again, there is a problem. What is the problem? End of the tribulation, similarity, call for the feast. There is some similarity all there. Ezekiel 39 and Revelation 19th chapter. And all Israel will turn to their Messiah. And the problem is, at the end of the 7 years, there is another war, that is Armageddon war. That's a different war. Though there are some similarities, but it cannot be the same. Cannot be the same. Armageddon war is a different war. See, this Ezekiel 38 and 39 is a regional war. It is limited to some regions. There are 6 nations around. But whereas Armageddon war, this Antichrist is going to gather all the kings of the earth. All the kings of the earth. That's going to be like a whole world is involved in it. And here, Russia is the main player, along with allies. Here, the Antichrist is the main player with all other kings. There's a difference. And they are fighting Israel. And Armageddon, Antichrist is fighting with Messiah, Christ. So you cannot put there, Russian invasion and Armageddon war, altogether 2 different wars in characteristics and purpose. So here are some I have mentioned. Because of the time, I will not explain, just I will read it. Main character is Prince of Meshach in Ezekiel war, Christ the Messiah versus Antichrist in Armageddon war. Invasion against the nation Israel, war against Christ. Specific nations are mentioned here, that is 9 nations, including that Tobolsk and Moscow and Russia, all those things, actually 6 nations, and kings of the earth and their armies. War spot is the mountain of Israel, whereas in Armageddon, it is Jehoshaphat Valley. That's a different purpose of Israel, to turn to Messiah. And here all Israel will be saved. Prior to the war, Israel dwells in peace. Israel will flee hiding in the desert prior to Armageddon war. And great earthquake, rain, hail, pestilences. Here the sword from the mouth of God will destroy. War against nation Israel. Nation Israel not mentioned in Armageddon war. It's a Antichrist versus Yeshua, Jesus. So, and another view, they said, end of the millennium kingdom. Again, you have the problem. End of the millennial kingdom, because the word Gog and Magog is mentioned in 19th chapter and Ezekiel 38 chapter. Some believe that both are same, and the invasion will be at the end of millennial period. Similarities mention Gog and Magog. Both in Ezekiel and Revelation mentioned the both. The problem, Revelation 20, Gog and Magog war is scheduled. Russia invasion and Gog and Magog war, they both are different in characteristics. And mention of Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38 and Revelation 29, they are entirely different. 2 similar words need not carry the same meaning. Similar words can be used for different purpose, like Babylon. Babylon, the place. Babylon, the mystery Babylon. It is the religious, false religious, corrupt religious system. They take the word Babylon, means the corrupt religious system. So, and Armageddon is, it is sometimes this word is for the destruction. It's used for the destruction and not for Jehoshaphat. And sometimes, in 1998, I think, 1998, a movie was taken. It is a catastrophe, end of the war, end of the world. So whenever there is danger of destruction, they use the word Armageddon. Armageddon. Uh, we are sitting on the brink of Armageddon, since the weapon mass destructions are spreading worldwide. And and Sodom and Gomorrah, Sodomites. You know what do you mean by Sodomites? They usually use for the homosexuals. So these are the idioms. These are the idioms. And you can also say Waterloo. Waterloo is a place in Belgium. And there in 1815, Napoleon, French forces were crushed in one day. One day. It is a crushing defeat, sudden defeat. So these are the idioms they use. So Armageddon, Gog and Magog. Again, it is like when it is using the word is an idiom that is evil, that is a satanic influence. See here, Russian war, and if you see that, even the devil can play havoc. So in both cases, Ezekiel war and Revelation 19th war, the Satan is at the background, instigated by Satan for all these things. So they both cannot be same, my friend. Both cannot be same, and same Sodom and Waterloo. And here are some different difference between Russian invasion and Gog and Magog war. Main character, Prince of Meshach. Here, main character is Satan. Invasion against the nation Israel. War against all saints of the millennium. Regional war and all nations of the earth, four corners of the earth. Prior to the war, no mention of Satan. Prior to the war, Satan is bound here. And the war spot, mountain of Israel. And it is a beloved city, Jerusalem. Purpose of the war, Israel to turn to Messiah. Already all Israel turned to Messiah and worship in millennial kingdom. Following the war, 7 months to bury the dead. And here, instantly burned in fire from heaven. Instantly burned. And following the war, weapons burned for 7 years. And great white throne judgment is after the millennial. So, and Jesus and Gentiles to the Lord. Jews and Gentiles turn to the Lord. Here is the final judgment. And call for the feast, birds and beasts, and instantly burned to ashes. Great earthquake, rain, hail, and pestilences, fire from heaven. So there are several differences. No mention of Satan in the Ezekiel war. Satan thrown into the hell in Gog and Magog war in Revelation 20. And house of Israel cleansed the land, and here entry into the eternity. No mention of the land. So these are some of the differences between war, though it is called the Gog and Magog in Ezekiel 38, 39, and same Gog and Magog war in Revelation chapter 27 to 10 verses. So that is the, as I said, Ezekiel two-phase fulfillment view. Harold Hoehner, a professor of Dallas Theological College, he says that 38, 39 part will be fulfilled in two phases. Like Ezekiel will be 38 will be fulfilled early in the tribulation. Some may believe in their Messiah, not all. And 39 part of in the end of the tribulation, all Israel will believe Messiah. Two-stage restoration, just now I mentioned. First stage, bones and restored as a nation, physical restoration. May 14, 1948. Second stage, life comes into that dead bones and spiritual restoration, faith in their Messiah. End of the tribulation during the millennial king, all Israel will be saved. So, my friend, prophecy, peace first, war follows, culminates in faith. First seal, peace. Second seal, war. How wonderfully it matches. Two regatherings of the nation Israel. Randall Price says, the present first regathering and future second regathering. Return to the part of the land, and all the land will be occupied. And return in unbelief in their Messiah. Today, 1948, all Jews are coming to Israel, but unbelief. They never, lot of people, they never accept Jesus Christ as their Messiah. And in second regathering, all return to faith in Messiah. And restored the land only, restored land and the Lord in second regathering. Set the stage for the tribulation, for the discipline, and set the stage for the millennial reign, for the blessing. See, these are all the differences we'll see. And these are the three future wars. My friend, Ezekiel war, we put in the beginning of the tribulation. And at the end of the tribulation, we put the Armageddon war. This is the war between Jesus Christ and the Antichrist. He will be thrown in the hellfire. He, false prophet. And at the end of the millennium, there is going to be another war. That is Gog and Magog. I explained a little bit of it. So these are the three wars of the future. And then you will go into the eternity. You will go into the eternity. And my friend, this is how we see the future wars. And next subject I'm going to take according to our timetable. Yeah, I think we have covered our this day topics, and tomorrow this Gog and Magog war I covered a little bit. This part of Revelation 20, the millennial kingdom. Next tomorrow I'm going to take the millennial kingdom part 1 and part 2, and the times of Gentile tomorrow. And I want to remind you, my friends, see, when you study any prophecy, you have to take the whole chapter or whole event. Sometimes some event is differently placed. See, for example, millennial kingdom. Where is it mentioned? Revelation 20th chapter. But there's not much mentioned there. You cannot get anything there. Only you know there is a millennial kingdom. And we rule. That's all. But the details are given in Ezekiel, Isaiah. So, this is how we should study. Even these wars and millennial kingdom, you have to find out what is the characteristics of millennial kingdom and how this Satan is going to be influenced. You know, in the beginning of the millennial kingdom, when Armageddon war, Antichrist and false prophet, they both are thrown into the hellfire. And then Satan is going to be bound for 1,000 years. 1,000 years. That means millennial kingdom is minus Satan's influence. There is no Satan's activity during the millennial kingdom. And at the end of the millennial kingdom, Satan is going to be let loose. Let loose. And he knows his time is limited. So within that short time, he gathers from all over the world. Now the big question, millennial kingdom is a Christ kingdom. How come again people will be going towards Satan? It's a big question, isn't it? Very big question. So tomorrow we are going to answer that. Tomorrow we are going to answer that. And so he is going to gather all unbelievers and all the people, all from the four corners of the world. See, we will read that. First we'll read the war of Armageddon, and then we will read about Gog and Magog. Now, the second war is Armageddon war. The word is mentioned in 16th chapter of Revelation. If you turn to your Bible, 16th chapter, and verse 13 to 16. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, the three unclean spirits like frogs. And they are spirits of demons, performing signs, which go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them together for the war of the great day of God the Almighty. And behold, I am coming like a thief in the thief. Blessed is the one who stays awake and keeps his garment, lest he walk about naked and men see his shame. Verse 16, and they gathered them together to the place which in Hebrew is called Armageddon. Megiddo is the valley there, the place of Megiddo. They are going to gather. And the details of the war is given in Revelation chapter 19. Revelation chapter 19. 19th chapter and verse 11 onwards. This is the second coming of Christ. How Christ is coming, and then how the war is going to be taken place. 19th chapter, verse 11. And I saw the heavens open, and behold, a white horse, and he who sat upon it is called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he judges and wages war, and his eyes are a flame of fire, and upon his head are many diadems, and he has a name written upon him which no one knows except himself. And he is clothed with a robe dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which are in heaven, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, were following him on white horses. And from the mouth comes a sharp sword, so that with it he may smite the nations, and he will rule them with a rod of iron, and tread the winepress of the fierce wrath of God the Almighty. And on his robe and on his thigh he has a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried out with a loud voice, saying to all birds which fly in mid-heaven, come, assemble for the great supper of God. See, now this feast in the war, men will be slain. The birds will eat their flesh. Birds are going to eat their flesh. He's calling for the feast, that is the feast of supper of God. In order that you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of commanders, and the flesh of the mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and those who sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free men and slaves, and small and great. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies assemble to make war against him who sat upon the horse and against his army. Verse 20, and the beast was seized, and with him the false prophet who performed the signs in his presence, by which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped his image. These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire, which burns with brimstone, and the rest were killed with the sword which came from the mouth of him who sat upon the horse, and all the birds were filled with their flesh. So this is the Armageddon war, this description, and this is the outcome of the war of Armageddon. My friends, from his mouth comes the sword. Do you think Jesus is going to kill them with a sword? Why the sword? There are so many questions. But I would say, Jesus, just if he can say a word, people can flat. You remember in the Gethsemane, when people came to arrest him, and they said, I think it is recorded in Luke's gospel, I think so. They asked, they're coming, Jesus asked, whom are you seeking? Whom are you seeking? They say, Jesus of Nazareth. And Jesus said, I am he. I am he. Again they asked, I am he. Then everyone fell down. Isn't it? So his word has a power. His word has a power. Maybe just, I just imagine, he just say, shh, everyone will be gone. Everyone will. And he catch hold of beast, that is Antichrist, and his spokesperson, false prophet, and take both of them and throw into the lake of fire. They will be burning. They will be burning. So this is the description, and he is going to collect all the people from all over the world. You know, Antichrist, as in the beginning we said, he is the man. He is a charismatic leader. He brings the people with the deceptive words, crafty words, and he has a great influence. And in the second half, he is the monarch. He is the dictator. And everyone will come. Everyone will come. So he gathered all the kings of the earth and waged war against Messiah. And this is the Armageddon war. So who is the main character? Jesus Christ. And enemy, Antichrist. And all the kings of the earth. But whereas in Ezekiel 38, it is a Northern Federation, Russia and its allies, against nation Israel. Nation Israel. That's the difference. And after that, there's going to be a millennial kingdom. Jesus is going to set up his kingdom. And at the end of the millennial kingdom, we are coming to the chapter 20th, after 19, chapter 20. Chapter 20. And 7th verse to 10th verse. Satan freed and doomed. And when the 1,000 years are completed, Satan will be released from the prison. You know, he was bound. He was bound in the beginning of the millennial kingdom, or the end of the war, end of this war, Armageddon war. And he is bound for 1,000 years. And he will be released from the prison and will come out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. Gog and Magog together, them together for the war. The number of them is like the sand of the seashore. And they came up on the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city, that's a Jerusalem. And fire came down from heaven and devoured them. And the devil who deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and the brimstones, where the beast and the false prophet are also, and they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. See, this is the Gog and Magog war of Revelation, the Revelation, book of Revelation. So, this is the end of Satan. This is the end of Armageddon war is the end of the Antichrist. The Gentile nations are finished. And Jesus' prophecy, you all know that until the end, Gentiles are going to trample the city. So now, Gentile nations' rule is over, finished with the Antichrist. Antichrist is the last ruler, last king of the Gentile nations. And that is the end of Gentile nations. And then millennial kingdom. In the millennial kingdom, Satan will be bound and is released. And at the end, Satan will be thrown into the hellfire. So that is the end of the Satan. All evil is finished. Then he will burn whole the earth, according to the 2 Peter. The fire will burn whole earth, and there will be new heaven and new earth. It is in the eternity, going to be in the eternity. That is the end of Gog and Magog war. So, my friends, this is 3 future wars. War of Revelation, war of Ezekiel, and Armageddon or Armageddon war, and Gog and Magog war. So, if you have any questions, if you have any doubts on this, you may please, you can ask the question. And I don't boast that I can answer all your questions, but I humbly try, as God's grace gives me, I will answer. Okay? So we have finished the 3 wars, future wars. What are these 3 wars? Now I'll ask one by one, okay? Maybe online you can stop.